Sunday. Well, not in real life. That'll be another 3 or 4 months. But in this one, Madden NFL 09, this will be the Jets franchise going up against Carson Palmer and a very, 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 very good Minnesota Vikings team with Jeremy Shockey, Brandon Jacobs. No one gives a shit about those other two quarterbacks. Julius Jones is there to be the backup running back. Just, have an injury-prone backup running back after, just in case Brandon Jacobs gets it. You got Reggie Wayne at wide receiver. Mr. Hackett right there. Is Mr. Hackett the dude that married to that boy bunny, Kendra Wilson, whatever the fuck her name is? I'm playing it cool. Her name. But Jeremy Shaw at tight end. Madden NFL 2004. Summer year, second season with the New York Giants. The dude's a beast. This dude seems like a beast too, Mr. Moss. Got George, who does the funny thing, but he just looks gross, which is funny too. I already had. But I believe he was the left hand Panthers in all those years. Richie Incognito. There's a lot of black guys on this football team, fellas. I don't know if you want Richie Incognito necessarily on this football team. Especially, imagine him and Albert Hainsworth. They most likely didn't have to face each other all too much. But what do you think would do? Heard Richie Incognito and the N-word and shit like that. I'd imagine it'd be one hell of a first team practice. Consider one as a defensive tackle, the other one's an offensive guard. Ike Taylor, Patrick Surtain. Now we get to see, and Mr. Surtain Jr. will certainly for. No one's really talking about it. I know, and company, but it just that Denver Broncos defense looks good enough to be like a Super Bowl defense already. It's a shame quarterback isn't all that good or quarterback play. They've had that douchebag. So now you got to deal with Teddy. But at least, compared to Carolina, it's just that Denver looks a lot better. So we'll just have to see. It's a shame because if they got the likes of like an Aaron Rodgers or something like that, or like at like the off season, the free agency type period and stuff, to where they could have gotten a trade or something like that leading up to the NFL draft, certain. But certainly there's something to be skeptical of future. Because I think catapult them into testing with the best of the AA opinion. Got some talented players on their offense. Javonte Williams ain't nothing to snuff at. Melvin Gordon, But still, when you think about it. Heading into the season, let's talk about the This team, well, the Jets team is a beast team, right? But we're talking about the Broncos. I think they'll better than anything in what I've been trying to be better than the Raiders. I think the Raiders will last. It's just not going to look very good. That team, Derek Carr needs to go. I think Derek Carr could be an interesting player to see traded away this season from Oakland, and Oakland goes, fired and eats up the rest of his contract, and they just start rebuilding again. Honest to God, I don't know. I guess that is a possibility for some reason, and I think Derek Carr is just vastly underrated. The dude's doesn't throw a ton of picks. I know he's got basically been the one consistent play that he's had over the years. So don't really get at he really has had anybody to Amari Cooper for the first couple of seasons, and that's pretty solid. Again, Crabtree, not college Michael Crabtree. He's still in the NFL when he was doing well. But also, Amari Cooper issue with a decent amount of passes. In addition to, I don't know, for a route runner, he just didn't seem to be getting the targets converted into. So, right here, Derek Carr could definitely be someone that gets traded, or you have other players, but still, it's just a young team. Who knows? I don't think any of the quarterbacks. This is kind of missing the point from last season. Raiders were just waiting on to see if things will pan out because Gruden's he's going to put a good team at the same time. Even when John Gruden's there, they're drafting stupid 1 or 2 rounds ahead. And I'm not even saying fantasy football to where drafting a dude that some people just don't think is going to go well, and you are banking on him, and it ends up paying off to where you draft him 2 or 3 rounds ahead of ADP. Big run by MJD down the field, gets chased down, but big run right here by this team. Still 0-0 with 2 top offenses. Pierre Thomas getting. But yeah, it's just now you're going to see they're most likely going to get in a huge rebuild. Maybe just keep Derek Carr. We'll have to feature because I think that's one. And the offensive line to be nearly as good. Now you have a young Josh Jacobs and company. You definitely have to keep that kind of core most likely. But they just haven't drafted well. So, I don't know. The Raiders just look like a shit show. Am I only going to be better than them? They get a really good quarterback and they're 10 and 6 of the season, or maybe they're I don't know, 6-4. And they're in a really good position where down the stretch, only 2 more games, or maybe they have teams against the Raiders. I haven't looked at their schedule. They're 6-4. probably trade for a good quarterback. A decent quarterback who just things have panned out with quarterbacks in all these quarterback races. Maybe, Teddy Bridgewater did enough, and you feel like you can field yourself a pretty good team. Or maybe Rodgers just Green Bay. I doubt that will happen. But, obviously, the Bills are going to be good. Chiefs are going to be good. I think the Browns. I don't think Jadeveon Clowney is exactly the kind of addition people are just talking about. This is not Jadeveon Clowney with the number one highlight or number one play on top 10, ESPN's top 10, after just destroying a Michigan running back on that play that not like it needed to be held for him to get the number overall pick, but still, it's just Myles already the player that, like, if someone had Myles Garrett, yes, that's where you talk about, okay, they just got, a J.J. Watt, got a, almost a J. Watt or and Donald type dude with that impact on a defensive line, especially like a pass rusher, but seriously, I just don't think it's quite the addition I think it is, but they did drag out a couple positions, such as Mr. Richardson out of Alabama at D tackle, because they dealt with a lot of rushing yards against them. The interior part of the linebackers were definitely quite a bit in awareness, skill, just experience, that. And I know they got a rookie, so it's not proving my points necessarily. Beautiful by DJ, that one, or Djax. But seriously, I think the Browns are going to be in the playoffs. I think they're a good overall team. It'll just depend a lot on see how good this offense is going to continue. And, their offense should play very well, but I just don't think there's going to be, still going to have good, and it's going to be still a good defense. Just, I'm basing it more on the expectation. I don't know how that wasn't a touchdown. I'm pretty sure I'm probably going to challenge this. But you got the Ravens up there. They've now dealt with 2 running backs in their arsenal injured. Obviously, J.K. Dobbins, a man that I was going to take a huge step up. Considering Mark Ingram is now gone, I thought J. Dobbins was more impressive than Mark Ingram. He definitely, advantage way more often, had a higher average yardage than Mr. Mark Ingram, and I think he'd be better at receiving out of the backfield than Mr. Mark Ingram. Just keep on saying Mr. Ingram. Now you got been highly efficient. He was going to eat into, J.K. Dobbins just based upon how it would work. But Justice Hill gets in, so now you're expecting this Tyson Williams dude, who number 1 rated running back in all the preseason. Say what you will. But good news is always good news. So necessarily, just take it to the degree, but it's still not bad. It's just when you're the number 1 rated running back, 1, it proves that 2 things. 1, you should feel at least something, because at least it means the line is good enough. You had Orlando sent over Kansas City, but also 2, it's a beautiful play by Djax as well at the end of the half. But it at least proves the line is still solid as fuck for the Baltimore offense, which is what's really based upon. And I know he's going to be out, but the dude's a stud. He sat out. Based on him, like Mike Parsons, both of them would have been their draft picks had they had played college football this season. And Mike Parsons was still drafted in the top, 11 or 12 picks. And Rashad Bateman fell first round. The dude's a badass wide receiver. Honestly, he might than some of the receivers that were drafted first. They're all just very speedy dudes. And you're already seeing catching concerns with at least Jamar Chase. So Rashad Bateman, worth the wait, obviously. Marquise Brown should be expected to have somewhat of a jump. Ruggs, we even talked about the guys that just haven't performed Oakland. And I think Henry Ruggs, I think it was by far the highest depth of target in the NFL. It was like 16 or 18, which is expected with the depth. But Derek Carr is 2 for him to have a good season. We should expect so maybe the Raiders' passing game will be better for fantasy purposes. I don't think it'll be, good enough for them to do anything to get into the playoffs. Playoffs? No. But more, I think Baltimore. I don't know. It's so weird with the number of teams. Could it be possible? It's not possible. Those teams in one division is gonna have to bullet and deal with not playoffs. I'm pretty sure, right? No. Technically, mathematically, with the teams making it into the playoffs per conference, there's a possibility that the AFC North could have 3 playoff teams, but that would imply that the don't make it. The Titans could not make it. Could imply, the Broncos could not make it. Could imply the Chargers might not even make a move, or might not make it. And possibility the Chargers have done well enough to make the playoffs, especially because of important position. They for sure have that locked up, if it moves the way it does. Injured, Mike Williams gets in, though. Hunter Henry's gone. Austin Eckler's, maybe there's a possibility. Herbert isn't nearly as good as he was last year, but the offensive line than it was last year. So in all honesty, we'll just have to see. But I think Chiefs Bulls at the line again. It's leading to Chiefs' opportunity to make the Super Bowl yet again for years now. Hopefully it's for their sake. But now look at the season with Dallas. Possible they could go 17-0, and Tampa Bay literally return a couple players that could only help the team. They're not going to really make them bad. And they even had a pick, with that being considered. It's played by Aqib Talib. Speaking of Tampa Bay Buccaneers players, Aqib Talib. But I don't know. Dallas might have just a terrible game against the Buccaneers team, and you just never know. Maybe the makes a certain team get drunk, and maybe they have a slow start. We'll just have to see for sure. But Buccaneers, obviously, Dallas is just going to win their division because Washington Redskins are all that. It's just they didn't really do anything about a very most important position in all of sports, or at least most impactful. So I guess that would make it the most important position. Ryan Fitzpatrick, yes, I'd say he's better than Dwayne Haskins. But who knows what the deal is when it comes to how well he's going to play this year. But I expect him to be, especially up front. They do have Landon Collins, of course, at safety. Dude's a stud, but still, you're talking about a team that just, I don't know if they can move the ball as well as most of the other teams. And at the Eagles, offensive line, expected to be in full health compared to in the past, but you just never know. It could take just plays, and that could just ruin things back to where they were last season. And their defense shit anyway, so they're not really going to do anything. The Giants should be interesting. Maybe the Giants make some sort of move to possibly make a scare to the Cowboys win the division. But I think more so Eagles man out. You're going to see maybe the Giants make a move, but it's more so just depending on how the Redskins, Washington football team, Jesus Christ, just recognize what I was saying. God, fucking burn me. But between the Cowboys and Washington, how does dictate who's going to be the winner of that division? I think the Panthers are interesting, just considering that besides Buccaneers, the Saints are no longer a surefire way to make the playoffs, and the Atlanta Falcons got better as well. So that should be interesting to see which one of those three teams could make the wild between the Saints, who may be a better overall team, Panthers and the Falcons, but I wouldn't say that their offense may hinder them for 6 weeks of the season with Michael Thomas being out. Just expect this, because Thomas is getting drafted in a lot of leagues in the 8th or 9th round. Yeah, mind you, he will be out for 6 weeks. Le'Veon Bell was suspended for 6 weeks. He was still getting drafted because they knew if they could go 3-3, they still have a top running back. Picture this. Remember when Chris Godwin came breakout season? Well, he had a break, and Mr. Jameis Winston actually preferred to get him a wide out wide receiver. He wasn't playing slot or anything. Chris Godwin was just eating up targets before he got injured. Well, guess who plays the slot for the New Orleans Saints? Possibly the best slot receiver in all of football, Michael Thomas. So just get that one if you want to stash. Not a bad idea at all. Especially I think Jameis Winston might actually be more of a ceiling to the offense than Drew Brees is 2 or 3 seasons. Next, NFC West. Looks like the Rams should win that division. I know. I think they have defense that can bat with the of the Buccaneers. Best defense in football. I mean, they do have 2 of the top players on defense. They don't have the best defense in football. That's overall defense. But seriously though, that's the ball game right there, fellas. Great Super Bowl win. But Deshaun Jackson too. Oh, super beat. But if you look at it, the Rams do have 2 amazing players, the 2 best defensive players in all of football. Obviously, Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey against anybody else position. And honestly, the dude's physical, never tight end if he fucking gave a shit. He doesn't. The dude just walks out with the ball. But I think partly they're not going to make off their team, but I think it's me. Don't think they're good enough to make the playoffs, but they're the type of team that they're with Trey Lance. Maybe they let him finish this. And then they literally catapulted in a Super Bowl favorite position the next year or the year that. That's how good it is. And then NFC North, I think Pack won that one. Bears, I don't know, man. Justin Fields looks good, and I feel bad for Allen Robinson. He left Jacksonville, which ended up being a nice move. Left a couple years earlier before it became shit. But still, and I do expect the Titans offense to be winning. The Colts end up still in the division because they're a good overall team. We can talk more about that. That's just my thoughts so far to start. Congratulations, you have won the Super Bowl, and that's the New York Jets, Joe Namath and company. Later, fellas.